As I say, welcome back to the Willie Bragg Show. I hope each and every one of you you're doing all very well. And if it's a little bit too bright in here right now, I need better lighting. I am going to do something about that eventually. I have plans. I have plans right now, so you're going to probably see a better looking studio in the near future. So just, that's all I'm going to say right now. So that's what I'm going to say right now. But what I want to talk about is the subject of Bill Maher. We've been hearing this. We've been hearing about Bill Maher lately, and give me a second here. And there's a whole lot to be said about him because I have a whole lot of opinions on this man over the years. He ran hot and cold and everything in the middle over the years when it comes to my opinion. In the mid 1990s, I first heard of Bill Maher. Started watching Politically Incorrect on Comedy Central. I lost my train of thought there. I started watching the program, and he was basically a libertarian-leaning Republican, kind of moderate. Even though he supported Bob Dole, he leaned libertarian, and then he started to wane away from libertarianism and became basically an independent who supported Ralph Nader in 2000 to becoming a Democrat for John Kerry in 2004, for Barack Obama in 2008, 2012. Then in 2016, he became a supporter of Bernie Sanders, where he was at his best. And then he ended up going down into a position which was almost as reprehensible or equally so reprehensible as his 1996 self when he was a libertarian supporting Bob Dole by being a Democrat for Amy Klobuchar. And now he's in a situation where he's positioning himself to become the next Dave Rubin. And that is absolutely just, that's just awful. Now, when it comes to Dave Rubin, I say that he might have been in our modern era, especially in the age of social media. You could say that Dave Rubin kind of led the way, in a sense, because while I hear people on the online left, people like the Young Turks and Moral Majority Report, I almost said Moral Majority. I was thinking the 1980s. Majority Report with Sam Cedar. I hear Kyle Kalinske. I hear David Pakman. Some of the big people on the online left. They'll go make little pot shots and jokes about them and everything. And at first I was kind of like, come on now. It was just kind of, that's a little bit mean and everything. And I'm going to tell y'all, at first, before he took his turn to the right, when he was moving out of the left, it was very, very subtle. And it was at a time when this anti-SJW thing in the mid 20 teens were kicking off. And I understood it because while I was always on the left, am on the left, remain on the left, will always be on the left so far as I know, I understand the anti-SJW mindset. I understand that because I've always a free speech guy. I always thought that maybe some of the self-righteousness that existed on the college campuses was just a little over the top. The cancel culture is over the top. And in that regard, while Dave Rubin was still quote unquote a liberal, I was like, I didn't feel like throwing the first stone in that regard. So it was like I didn't feel like going, judging him too much. And he was still a Bernie Sanders supporter in 2016. So there was that. But then in the year 2017, I saw a gradual shift. And it went from, I will go and have a conservative here and there on my show to I'm having nothing but conservatives. And not only am I having nothing but conservatives on the show, I'm creating a safe space for conservatives. And I am actually agreeing with conservatives and all liberals, except for me, because I'm a classical liberal. They're all evil and you're all correct all along. And I'm like, you motherfucker. So I turned against Dave Rubin. I wouldn't say I was a fan of Dave Rubin, but when I was watching the Young Turks back in the day, I liked Dave Rubin the way I like the others from the Young Turks at the time. And I, as I said, I thought he was refreshing as far as being a cut above it with his stance against political correctness, but then he took it a step too far. And so I absolutely turned 100% against Dave Rubin. And now that he's turned far right, but I feel sorry for him because as he went into the right, being a gay man that he is, a lot of the right turned against him when he and his husband decided to adopt some kids. Not every conservative. Megan Crowley seemed cool about it. This one, I cannot think of the name of that. She's like a Christian radio talk show host, young lady, Stuckley. I cannot think of her name. She was cool with it, but she had a lot of people gave her a lot of shit about it. So she had to do a lot of apologetics and all of that shit and everything. But the thing is that Glenn Beck turned on him, and Ben Shapiro basically, he was kind of a piece of shit to Dave Rubin in his face about the whole issue and everything. And well, I do not think that every conservative is a homophobe. A lot of them are coming out of their homophobic closet, so to speak, and now some of the anti-gay rhetoric that they were kind of waning from is making a comeback. And so I think that Dave Rubin is in a what the hell situation he's in. But then again, while the left was sitting there calling him dumb and all that, he's not that dumb, because he grifted and made a hell of a lot of money doing what he did. Basically taking a piss on the left on the way, and actually doing long-term harm to the left for what he did. So in that regard, I have a tough time forgiving him for what he did. But at the same time, I feel sorry for him for what he's going through on a personal level. Because I think maybe on a personal level, he's probably not a bad person. But there is that. Another person that came along was, you probably know this person. Here's Tim Pool. Now, with Tim Pool, again, I remember Tim Pool back in the days of Occupy Wall Street and up into the 2016 election being a Bernie Sanders supporter. He did his grift eventually too. And I'm going to get back into where Bill Maher is at right now, because Bill Maher is following the path of Dave Rubin and Tim Pool. Now, with Tim Pool, he might be the most sophisticated propagandist on the right that's passing themselves off as liberal centrists, but somehow still come across as right-leaning. And what I mean by that is he actually can almost convince you that he's some kind of free-thinking liberal centrist type, an enlightened centrist, I guess you could say. But then again, how centrist and enlightened or liberal can you be if you're having Marjorie Taylor Greene on your program and you're kind of agreeing with her? So there is that. So you went from supporting Bernie Sanders in 2016 to thinking that Trump is the man. So and going with the vaccine skepticism and going with the right-wing narrative, but somehow sounding kind of like a liberal or an enlightened centrist. And so, but I will have to give him a little bit of credit. He knows how to do it a little bit more convincing than everyone else. The only thing is I can see right through it. I can. So that brings me to another person in a situation that's similar to Dave Rubin, and that would be Blair White. Blair White being a transgender woman, and the thing is that she basically echoes a lot of the anti-trans talking points of the right, but when she's doing it in a way that the right could say, well, look, Blair White agrees with these points about the transgender movement from A, B, and C, and D from our perspective, so we can't possibly be anti-trans. And that's a method that they will use. And it's a little irritating that every time I look into a video, she will take an isolated case of some weirdo, an individual weirdo that happens to be trans, that is, as I said, on an isolated case that happens to have issues or happens to be some kind of a predator on an individual basis, not saying that that's part of the trans community, and will look the most unflattering, and she will make sure that is part of the thumbnail. And so what she's doing, she's basically making a lot of the people on the right feel very comfortable in their bigotry toward the transgender community. And and to a certain degree, what's her name? Caitlyn Jenner. Sorry, Caitlyn Jenner's doing the same thing too. So there is that. Another person, and as I said, this is a rabbit hole that Bill Maher is going through. I mean, he's following in the same path. Ariel Scarcella, who's a well-known lesbian, a YouTube streamer, and she is very much an anti-TERF. Anti-trans. She's a TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist, I believe is what they're referred to, and she's polite about it on her show, but translation, she hates transgender community, and she pretty much, that is her theme on her program. I don't care how many goddamn times she will have Blair White on her program or some other person. Bigotry is her middle name, and and she doesn't mind collaborating with the right. It's making her money in the process. But and that's, the thing about it is that I guess she doesn't mind that the people that's giving her the money, will also hate her at the same time. So there is that. So now we go into really dangerous territory right now. And what I mean by dangerous territory is a British man by the name of Carl Benjamin. We know him now as Sargon of Akkad. Remember that guy? Well, let me tell you about him. And I remember hearing him about 2014, 2015, 2016. Strangely enough, he was a British guy that sounded, he was basically sounded like your typical Labour Party member, very middle of the road socialist or social democrat, and kind of echoed that in his program. And he looked at America and was very sympathetic toward Bernie Sanders. All of a sudden, overnight, he ended up supporting Donald Trump in the United States and ended up supporting Marine Le Pen in France. And now he's kind of echoing a lot of alt-right crap, and he's embraced a lot of a level of sexism that I think even a lot of the contemporary conservatives will find kind of cringe-worthy today. And he's in really whacked out territory, and that's Carl Benjamin, known as Sargon of Akkad. And there's other people, but we could go on, but I'll mention one more. His name is Joseph Jonet. And this is a whack job, and I believe I think it was the Huffington Post or Salon. I cannot remember which one he worked for, but he was their libertarian guy that turned kind of alt-rightish. What am I talking about? He turned alt-right. He goes by the name of Baked Alaska, and he was involved with the January 6th insurrection last year, and the dumbass was advised to plead guilty, do a plea bargain of guilty and to get a light sentence. And he acted like a big shot to the judge, and he's going to be in bigger trouble than he actually anticipated because of his stupid damn pride. But he's another one that you could almost say that he was not of the toxic right where the right is right now. And he is where he's at. So I'm giving you basically a list of all these people who were not on their rightward path that they're at now, that they were in another area ideologically in their life. So, and Bill Maher's headed that way. Over the years, some of the stuff, he now, as I said, 4 or 5 years ago, he was like supporting Bernie Sanders and all the things that Bernie Sanders supported. He was with the program in a whole lot of ways. And now everything that Bernie Sanders for, I'm talking about the non-controversial class reductionist things. He's calling that woke. And that's the thing about it. Anything that the right doesn't like, they call it woke these days. Now, there's a few people that they have been accused of being grifters that don't fit into the category of grifting, because even though they have won an audience on the right or may have embraced some issues that may be favorable to the right, I did not mention them on the list because I don't think it'd be fair to categorize them as right-leaning at this point, because maybe they're not, and maybe they're just independent thinkers. And I'm going to and as I said, and these are people who are as I said, they're still considered leftists in a lot of left-wing circles, but some people are saying no, they're not. They're right-wingers now, and so there's a debate whether they're left-wingers or right-wingers, and the three names that comes to mind right now would be Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, and Tulsi Gabbard. And the thing about that is that I'm not going to go and declare them as right because of some major issues that they embrace that would be considered a no-go area for the right to embrace them back. That's basically what I'm getting at. My opinion is now Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore takes positions that I don't like the vax related material he's been doing lately with this COVID thing, that almost embracing the conspiracy theories about the vax and all of that. I mean, there's things to be vaccine skeptic about, and maybe some policies you can debate about when it comes to handling the COVID. But you're trying to appease Trump supporters with your rhetoric, come on now, that's ridiculous. But I know what he's doing. He really is far left, but he's trying to appeal to Trump supporters at the same time to make money on the side. But he's really an accelerationist, which is why he dumps on Bernie Sanders and the squad all the time. But I don't think he will be accepted on the modern Republican right, because there are certain things. I mean, try being a Republican saying you favor Medicare for all, and try being a Republican when it comes to foreign policy and saying that you favor Palestinian rights. I mean, those are no-goes in today's Republican Party. They are no-goes. And if you're loud on those issues, they will turn you away so quick. So, and with Glenn Greenwald, now Glenn Greenwald's made some statements that I didn't like, referring to women's sports and the transgender community. I find that very problematic, and that's my big issue with Glenn Greenwald. I will say he should know better. Being a gay man, he should know better than that. Being a Jewish gay man married to a brown man in Brazil, with he and his husband's life endangered by the Bolsonaro government, he should know better than to go and trash on the transgender community. And so that's my take when it comes to Glenn Greenwald, and I'm very disappointed with him in that regard. Now, when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard, now I'm going to tell you, of all the people that's been accused, and a certain person listening, I hope that she'll appreciate what I'm about to say. A certain person, Tulsi Gabbard. I have my issues with Tulsi Gabbard, very much so. But the thing about it is, I also have a soft spot in my heart for Tulsi Gabbard. And I know that she's been pushed deliberately by the Democratic Party into the direction she's been pushed into. And it's not, it is not her fault. And I don't like what's been happening. I mean, I blame Hillary Clinton more than I blame anybody else for any bad direction she's been going into lately, referring to Tulsi Gabbard. I blame Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton, now, ironically, even though I do blame Hillary Clinton, I can see where people will see a Russian connection to Tulsi Gabbard. Whether it's true or not, I'm just going to say I can see where they see it. But I still think it's a vicious thing to do. It's a vicious thing to do to somebody who serves in the military. It could get somebody in serious trouble. It could actually put their lives in danger if they're going to face a court-martial trial as a result. And we have a vicious enough government that they would do that to someone like that. And they would do that. I mean, she could become the next Julian Assange on a global level in that regard, a political prisoner. And as I said, so there's a wide enough supporter of her on the left. There's a supporter of her on the right. But, as I said, she's been pushed a little closer to the right because of people like Hillary Clinton. So defining her or categorizing her is a little difficult too. So I just wanted to go and point that out. So, but getting back to Bill Maher. Bill Maher is probably going to remain a Democrat, but he's going to become that kind of Democrat that's basically, he's going to become like a TV personality version of Joe Lieberman. And that's not a good place to be. So I hate what happened to Bill Maher. In 2002, 2003, he had his show Politically Incorrect taken away from him because of political correctness. when he made his comments about the 9/11 attackers. I mean, this is the age of Bush and Cheney, and what he said about the 9/11 attackers, they weren't cowards. They weren't cowards. They were pieces of shit, but they weren't cowards. But thing about it is that that Bill Maher is now a piece of shit, because Bill Maher is he's just what he did in selling out what was the better part of his ideology. If he really was a true progressive like he claimed he was all these years. Now, even when he was supposedly better in his day, he still has some cringy positions. He was always still supportive of capital punishment, which I don't support the death penalty. I never have. So there is that. But as I said, I always supported his free speech positions and things of that nature. But now he seems to be rushing toward embracing a very dark side of being a centrist, which is a backdoor way to war where Dave Rubin is at now. And I don't like that. I was going to say if you like what you heard, but we have a busy little chat line here. So let me scroll back to the top if I can. And let's see right here. We have, yes. We have Hot Retarded Chicks. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? And we have Alex Schmidt. Seems like political correctness changes political ideologies every few generations. 80s and 90s conservatives, 0-10 liberals. Do you think we're starting to see a shift back to the PC right wing right now? I've always thought that the right wing was politically correct. I mean, I've always thought so. I always thought they were authoritarian, but they did a good job pretending to be libertarian for a few years. They did a good job. They do that when the Democrats are in power. They pretend to be libertarian, except now. Now with Biden in power, they're actually openly authoritarian. We got people talking about bringing back the House Un-American Activities Committee. I mean, and you can't get no more authoritarian than a Karen in Georgia by the name of Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Ron DeSantis of Florida, who I'm going to compare Ron DeSantis of Florida to Viktor Orban of Hungary. And that's a dangerous man in Hungary right now. And Ron DeSantis is trying to be like Viktor Orban. Let's see. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? Old friend of mine from East Carolina. Yeah, let's see. We got Bruno Goetz. Do you think Bill Maher feels upset that the left stopped listening to the old media, his platform, and started listening to the new media as a result, now appeals to the right? I guess that may be a part of it, but I just think he's just, I don't know. I just think he's and I'm a middle-aged Generation Xer, so I can answer it this way. He's a boomer, and I just think he thinks like a boomer. So there is that right now. So if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. We will have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we're the muckrakers of our time. Hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, help independent media grow. Because as I said, we do not need corporate media. Corporate media will lie to us every time. So until next time, let's go fight this class war, because there's no war like a class war. And the only war we need to fight is to fight the class war, and we need to fight for peace. And also, remember, we need to fight for the First Amendment. And that means supporting the free speech of those we hate the most, because we need to defend our free speech too. And we need to defend the freedom of the press. And that's, remember, Julian Assange is a political prisoner, and as long as he's not free, none of us are free. And that means that we're all Julian Assange at the end. So until next time, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say music. Take care. Next time, as I said.